Good evening, everyone. Castanera, nice to see you. So we have two items to take up tonight. The first will be the gas station at 121 Bolton Street, gas station in Market, etc. And the second will be the project known as the Green District. So first, we're going to start with order number 19-100, 7780, application for special permit from attorney Brian Falk on behalf of One Energy, Inc., to authorize the alteration of a pre-existing non-conforming gas station use to a gas station, convenience store, and restaurant cafe at 121 Bolton Street. So we've had a couple meetings on this. There were a number of changes the council had requested, and I believe everything that we have requested has pretty much been done. So we'll need to go through those. Before that, there's a couple of outstanding things we just want to make sure we're on agreement. The number one item that we have to resolve is with the driveway, the entrances and exits. So the neighbors very much would like to see that State Street entrance, exit, like to see it go away. So the site plan committee, which is our professionals, would like to see it stay. I was told by the city engineer that he thinks, and I think he was told by the building commissioner, so I don't want to get into a lot of hearsay and third party and fourth parties, but he thought that if we seal up the Bolton Street side in order to do the two driveways, I'm sorry, if we do the seal off the State Street side and do two entrances and exits on the Bolton Street side, that you would have to get a variance on that because you're starting from scratch. So that was opined by the building commissioner. So he's not here this evening. So why don't we put that on the table first and let's discuss it. Are you open to changes on that? And Mr. DiPersio, and I don't know, Priscilla, if you have anything to add to this. Let's talk about it. First, I know a couple of counselors had mentioned they might want to look at what our different choices might be. We don't want to sacrifice safety, but if it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, and we can make the neighbors happy, well, I think we're all going to side for that. So, Tom, do you want to start, or Brian, do you want to start?
I can start if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. And so, you know, when we met with site plan, we discussed the site as it's currently arranged and has been for a very long time, has 2 curb cuts in and out on Bolton Street and then a curb cut on State Street. Our traffic report that everyone should have copies of suggested that the impact of this proposal on existing conditions would be minimal, if any. And so we didn't propose any changes to the curb cuts. What we had heard at site plan was not the elimination of the State Street curb cut, but elimination of just one of the Bolton Street ones. And the main reason that we heard was it would allow us to put in even more landscaping along the Bolton Street side. So you know, our truck for fuel deliveries in and out of the site depends upon State Street. The truck comes in on Bolton Street and then pulls out on State Street for the weekly delivery. So if we were to eliminate the State Street, and I'm not aware of Mr. Cook's advice with respect to a variance, but we would have to rethink our whole truck delivery system if we were to eliminate the State Street curb cut, notwithstanding any variance issues that might come up from that. So we understand that the neighbors were not in favor of eliminating the Bolton Street, one of the Bolton Street curb cuts. Concern being we've got 3 curb cuts now. If we take away one of them, you know, a significant portion of the traffic may end up going out on State Street. So, you know, from our perspective, we'd like to leave it all alone. We don't think it's going to present a traffic impact based on our traffic report. That's our inclination. If I could just so you know, when we did meet with site plan, we made a couple of other changes to the plan based on their recommendations. If we could just have our engineer, Richard DeFusco, go up and just walk you through them briefly, I think it will help show some of the changes that we've made in terms of adding additional landscaping along the Bolton Street side.
Well, let's just talk about the driveway first.
Sure.
Right, because that's kind of big. Before I call on councilors, I'm going to ask Mr. DePercio to give us a little information. Could we in fact keep all three openings, and would that then reduce the Bolton Street pressure, and yet no variances would be required? The problem there is then we lose a lot of landscaping. Right, Priscilla?
Right. So first, Attorney Falk is correct about the State Street opening. We recognize and agree that that's necessary to make the fuel deliveries to the station. The northern Bolton Street entrance is the one that was under discussion as it being preferable, if possible, for that to be closed. And it was first about the landscaping.
And for people who are directionally challenged,
the one on the left
is the one closest to State Street.
Correct,
yes.
Yeah. So the landscaping was one factor in that consideration, because they don't, even with this plan, they don't meet the landscape ordinance in terms of the street frontage plantings. That would go a long way to getting them closer to that. The other issue from my perspective is just it's always preferable to organize traffic to consolidate openings when you can, especially when you've got another intersecting street right there, and you could have movements in and out of the station from 3 different places at once. And I think in the zoning code, based on the amount of frontage they have, they probably are only qualify for 2 openings. There may, I'm not sure that a variance would be necessary, or if it's just through site plan, it can be, an additional opening can be granted if the applicant shows to our satisfaction that it's not going to cause traffic issues, I think, is the main consideration. So I would think if they're going to make this proposal, maybe some specific way to address that concern specifically, would we be willing to consider it?
Okay, so if we could get Conservation Officer Priscilla Ryder up just for a sec, just to, we're trying to make this look really nice and trying to get them to do the landscaping that they're supposed to do.
Just to show you on
Priscilla,
here.
Priscilla, take the mic, please.
So the idea is really just to, right now, this entrance, and this is State Street, and this is the entrance, and it's very, very tight. I mean, close to each other. So the idea is to, whoops.
Just push it.
The idea is to close this off and then create this more landscaping, then people can come in and go out that way, which is where the truck delivery has to come in and out. So that was the idea. The idea was really to avoid this conflict, which seems to be from a design perspective is the preferable thing, is not to have 2 entrances really close to each other.
So I don't really see how the truck can get out. They'd have to reconfigure the whole thing. I don't see how the truck gets out.
No, the
onto
truck loop comes in and out like this. So when they showed us the truck,
I mean,
is that on here?
You can get out at State
Not
Street.
on here, but
Okay.
yes, you were correct.
That's in the plans, though.
Correct.
You can get out at State Street. I don't see how they get back out at Bolton Street.
It's not, he said.
Mr. Chairman.
It's not on these, unfortunately, no, I'm sorry.
Now, the building commissioner had them yesterday that it was showing me, the fire trucks and the gas trucks. I don't see how they can get out of Bolton Street with this configuration.
I'm not sure.
Does
Oh,
anybody-
you're saying if we eliminate State Street, then they
Eliminate
cannot
State
do
Street,
that. Correct, they cannot do
I don't see how the trucks
that,
can
right.
get out.
No,
Right.
they could not.
So I don't think nobody's, I mean, we're not recommending State Street be eliminated. We're saying this should be eliminated so that the traffic can,
Right.
just to eliminate that.
Thank you. Councilor Landers.
Mr. Chairman, how about no right turn out of the gas station onto State Street? There's a sign there, they have them down at CBS, no right turn out of the gas station. Now, if someone has to get down State Street, they come back to Bolton Street and go up. So just in the gas station, have a no right turn sign, and that solves your problem. It takes the traffic away and it doesn't change the intersection.
I can't imagine anybody's going to pay attention to that sign.
Well, they
but
do that at
they might.
CVS for the most part.
Yeah. Councilor Rossi?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the project as presented had the 3 curb cuts, correct? 2 on Bolton, 1 on State Street. The traffic study that was presented to us was all based on 2 curb cuts on Bolton, 1 on State Street. That seemed to appease, hang on.
Yeah.
So that seemed to appease everyone. My understanding, and Priscilla and Tom correct me, was at site plan, the site plan said, basically, my impression was 2 reasons. 1, landscaping. If you eliminate the northernmost Bolton Street, you would increase the landscaping, where I believe the applicant has addressed that because they've now reconfigured the building, eliminated the outdoor patio, and increased. Now, I haven't seen any numbers. I'm just strictly looking at your drawing, so if you can bear with me, answer that question to say, have you addressed the landscaping requirements that the site plan was looking for with your newly reconfigured building? Is that correct?
So we got a communication from Priscilla on that, which said they got closer but didn't quite reach the mark.
Correct. They're supposed to, the zoning code says 15 feet. They have 5.
On the street?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was square footage you were looking for, not,
The way the zoning code is written, it's a depth requirement.
And if I may, with the reconfiguration of the building, we did increase the depth along Bolton Street. This is the original plan before we changed the building following site plan. And we had a 3-foot width along Bolton Street. We reconfigured the building to eliminate the outdoor seating. That allowed us to push things back a bit, and we gained almost an additional 3 feet. It's about 5.5 feet now. So I'm not saying that that's close to 15, but it is an improvement along that stretch. We're required to comply with the landscaping to the extent possible when we're not pre-existing non-conforming. We're taking the existing lot coverage of 75% and reducing it to just over 70% with this project. So the overall landscaping on the site is improving just in terms of what's impervious and pervious. I think you would agree that the enhanced landscaping is a massive improvement to this site. So I think to address the neighbors' concerns of not eliminating a Bolton Street curb cut, I think that's what we would prefer to do, and I think we have increased the landscaping. And you know, this new plan also has low-growth flowering trees along Bolton Street, which was not there in the previous iteration because they wouldn't fit. They do now.
Okay, President Clancy, then Councilor Doucette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In taking a look at the openings that we have, the 2 on Bolton Street and the 1 on State Street. The 1 on State Street, I believe, I don't have the exact number, but I believe it's 50 feet. And it appears that the other 2 on Bolton Street are approximately 30 feet apiece. Am I correct?
The one on State Street is 50 feet, but the other 2, which are existing, the one closest to State is 42, the other one is 49.
49. Okay, so in other words, you have increased the present opening onto State Street by approximately doubling the amount. Previously, that the curb opening on State Street went all the way from the corner all the way down to Mr. and Mrs. Buckley's fence.
That's the current condition, yes.
And and when they reconfigured the street and reconstructed the street, they brought it down to a smaller opening. You know, my feeling is that the smaller opening is enough to accommodate the large tractor trailers that might have to be turning out of the station. And what happens is that, being a frequent visitor to State Street, coming off of, I guess you have to say I'm a cut-through person. That's the way I get out to downtown. Numerous times in the past when the station was operating, there would always be a conflict on trying to take a left out of State Street onto Bolton. The problem that you have is really the proximity of the opening to the corner. I'm not exactly sure what the design is. I couldn't scale it out because my plans are only tiny. So in other words, it appears it's only like 15 feet. Am I correct?
It's between about 15 and 20 feet.
A what?
Between 15 and 20 feet?
15 and 20 feet.
So, Mr. President, are you saying perhaps to narrow that, kind of move it back
Well,
off of Bolton Street?
You can do two things. Leave the opening on State Street where it is, don't enlarge the opening, and just cut back a little bit on the one closest to the corner, because there was always a conflict when I came to the corner. If a person is exiting from the gas station taking a right onto Bolton, they always took off first. You know, they would never yielded. So my feeling is that I think there could be a compromise. I think I understand why they have to have the opening on State Street, but I don't think it has to be 50 feet. I think it can be, you know, left at the size that it is, and maybe cut back a little bit on the northerly exit. Maybe push that, you know, narrow that or something. You know, I take a look at, I go into Hunt's gas station quite often, and he has 2 openings. That's all he has. And, you know, and I think they're probably only about 2 40-foot openings. My feeling is that, you know, the 2 openings on on Bolton Street should be adequate. Maybe we might have to take a little bit of geometry out of the corner there, you know, from the northerly portion of it. But, you know, there is a fair amount of green space on the project now. You know, I noticed that there's a detention basin now.
So you could narrow State Street, narrow Bolton Street, have a no right-hand turn on State Street.
I don't know who's ever going to enforce it, but
I don't know, the police station's not that far away as I think about it.
Discourages people.
Councilor Doucette and then Councilor Jouer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Could we hold one sec? Sure. Let's get Mr. DePercio to opine in, and then we'll pick it up again.
So one of the things, I didn't get to mention the opening on State Street that President Clancy's talking about. So one of the things we asked for at site plan was for the existing opening. I think when the survey for this plan was done, it was before we reconstructed State Street. There is an opening there now that we wanted to see on this plan to see where it falls, number one, and whether it works with the truck turn, the delivery truck turn diagram that you showed. So we haven't seen that yet. I think we would need to see that before we make a final decision on the opening. But again, I wasn't advocating closing the opening on State Street because I think it's necessary to make that fuel delivery maneuver.
Could we do a no right-hand turn out of there?
Yeah, I don't see.
And that's really the traffic commission would have to approve, but is there any reason?
That's a private site. I'm not even sure it would need to go to them.
Okay.
Those are done a lot of times as conditions of site plan approval.
Right. Could the neighbors live with that? No right-hand turn out there? Karen?
That would, I don't know if that right-hand turn would actually work, sir, because everyone goes down State to take a left on Ackroyd to go down to Old Charter, to go down to Stevens. So I don't know if that no right-hand turn would work.
Okay. Counselor, for
Mr. Clancy, do you?
yeah, so just for our viewing audience, Mrs. Buckley said she's not sure it will work because basically people cut through State Street to go to a lot of other places, so that certainly is debatable. Counselor, who are you?
Me?
Counselor Doucette.
Very short time. I think doing something on the State Street entrance or the access would be something we could consider either the one-way or even make it so it's only exit, not only make it one way for an exit and set up the curb to actually address that. So I was just thinking that not allowing entrances from State Street, that allow the layout to be a little bit different, a little bit tighter, not allow the entrances from that too. So there might be another way to address it.
Could be. Counselor Jouer, then Counselor Rossing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I don't agree with making State Street just an exit only. People coming down State Street that would want to go into the service station would now have to come out on Bolton Street, turn around and go right back in on the entrance. So I don't think that would work. Historically, that site has had those street openings since they put a gas station back there way back when. And through my high school years, I worked at that gas station. And there was never a problem back then, nor am I aware of any accidents or problems having the three entrances now. I think eliminating one of them would create more of a problem. I hate to go against site plan. I don't think I ever have in my years that I've been here, but this is going to be a first. And now that I'm on my way out, I guess.
Yeah. I don't need you guys anymore. Yeah.
But, you know, I think closing that entrance off is doing a disservice not only to the gas station, but to the customers that are going to be going in there. You know, when they're pulling out, of course, it's going to be a new pump layout than that's been there. But there's going to be, with the two entrances on Bolton Street, they're going to have almost a straight shot for most of the pumps going out to Bolton Street without having to maneuver around and worry about other cars. And, you know, so I think having those two entrances on Bolton Street
And State Street.
And State Street. Well, State Street you need. I mean, as you know, Mr. DePercio said, that was never.
The neighbors didn't want the State Street.
What's that?
The neighbors did not want the State Street.
No, that's not accurate. That's not accurate.
Okay.
Am I
What am I missing? Councilor Rossing, straighten us out.
So again, I want to reiterate, go back to the traffic. Everybody was happy with the traffic study that showed the three entrances as presented, all right? The presentation made by the applicant, everybody's happy. The issue came up in site plan. So in my mind, State Street's off the table. Everybody's okay with State Street, all right? So drop State Street. State Street's good, right?
That's exactly.
All right, so State Street's good, okay? The issue is really with site plan review and making sure we understand the intent of their comments, and if we want to ask site plan review to, I don't know if the relax is the right word, or, you know, the council's wish is, leave it as is, we've gained extra green space for lot coverage. I just don't know the rules like Tom and Priscilla do to say if we're violating something. I mean, if it's as simple as the site plan said, hey, they'd prefer to have it, but it's okay to have it as is, well, then we should be sending the message to site plan review, we're happy with the three entrances as presented. The applicants reconfigured the building. They've done everything I believe the council, Urban Affairs, asked for last time by eliminating outdoor seating, increasing green space. If we want to play with curb cuts, I'll let Mr. DePercio weigh in if that's the case. But, you know, from where I sit, approve that plan as is, as long as site plan says we're not violating something. And that's the part I just don't know, and I would ask Priscilla and Tom to say, yeah, it may not be what we want, but it's a non-conforming lot, we can live with it, therefore it's okay. But as presented on that diagram is what the residents want, what was presented to the council, what the traffic study supports, which, again, I want to make sure my site plan is okay. If site plan says not what we optimum, but we can live with it, and in my mind, Mr. Chairman, we're done.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I guess I got fuzzed up on that. Mr. DePercio and Priscilla, so if we keep all three entrances and exits, it seems like we could narrow those down a little bit and gain a little, so in the northerly Bolton Street and the State Street side, we could narrow those a little bit, gain a little bit more landscaping, and we're not making it less safe, we're not doing anything, we're taking a little pressure off of State Street, and everybody's happy? Priscilla, are you happy?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we were, you know, we were trying to eliminate that, but if the wish is not to, I don't think it violates anything because it is a non-conforming use. Again, what we were trying to our thought process in site plan was they're really stripping the whole site. It's, you know, it's going away and it's a new slate and they're putting on a new thing. So why not force them to try to be as close to the regulations as possible? So, you know, every time, and this we do in site plan all the time, every time somebody's coming back to redevelop a site that might not need a special permit of any kind, we're always pushing them to come as close to and push the envelope to make sure that they're coming as close to the regulations as we can, just so that we're improving every time we go through. So that was our attempt in this regard, is to look at that. So again, if they can narrow this a little bit and narrow this a little bit and then get a little bit more landscaping, I think we're pretty good with that.
Mr. Chairman.
Brian? Mr. Falk?
What I was going to suggest is a condition where we may have 3 curb cuts, 1 onto State, 2 onto Bolton, but that we review with site plan, because we have to go through site plan approval, former site plan
Final
approval.
design being approved by site plan review?
Correct.
We're good with that? Because it was my inclination to say, no, you guys are going to give us all the landscaping we need, because you're making too big a building, but if this is, the neighbors are happy, council's happy, let's just go forth with that. Is everybody good with that? So we'll have a condition in that the final design will be approved by the site plan review in regard to the entrances and landscaping. Okay.
Does that mean that if we all can agree to bring it down to 2 instead of 1, instead of 3, that we can do that? Does that, is that what I'm hearing, or am I hearing
We're saying
3 for sure?
Three, we keep the 3 exits, entrances. We're gonna narrow down, try and narrow down the northerly Bolton Street, try and narrow down a little bit the, as you suggested, the State Street side, gain a little bit more landscaping, and that's what we're gonna do. If, however, you guys get in there, you can't do it, I mean, it seems like you can do it, right? Councilor Rossi?
Again, I want to make sure, the intent here, at least from what my understanding is, it's 3 entrances. So I would hope that site plan wouldn't say we want to go back to 2. The message that the council would be sending is, we'd like 3, and if you, and I don't hear anything compelling right now that says why it cannot be 3. You know, I would hope site plan would consider that and say 3 it is, and then if you have to adjust it, fine. But again, traffic studies, everything was done that says the traffic is amenable to the neighborhood based on that configuration. The issue is with us in site plan that enough green space and the tight turnout on the northerly exit. You know, again, I would let site plan weigh in on that, but with the understanding that we'd like to have the 3 entrances and exits to the station.
Okay. Okay. Council, we okay?
Good.
All right. All right then. So let's move on from there. We will, and Mr. Falk, you'll have to write that up.
Yep.
Let's see. So that affects the landscaping requirements. The signage, I was kind of out of sorts that the sign was going to be 20 feet high, but honestly, I walked over and walked around there today, and it's kind of probably where it should be. Because if you're going north, if you look from the north, it doesn't really matter. But when you're coming from the north heading south, well, you have Bolton Street Liquors sign. You have 2 big billboards above Bolton Street Liquors, so the sign is above the Bolton Street Liquor sign. And one of the things I was worried about was there's a lot of residences right around there. And I said, gee, what if we lowered it to 10 feet? Well, then at 10 feet, it's kind of, looks like it's glaring into everybody's windows and would probably bother them more than if it's up there. So my thought was, okay, go with that. It's a bit bright, your colors and all that, but I'll leave that up to you. But I think one of the things we want to make sure, of course, that the sign is off when you're not doing business. And even the rest of the lights on the gas station, except for security, we don't need all the other stuff lit up except for your security lights. That's my, it's not my order, that would be my wish if the council agrees. If the applicants can live with that.
Sure, so what I'm hearing is condition number 10 on signs would have an additional sentence that the sign shall not be illuminated outside of business hours.
Correct. And really, it's part of the lighting as well. We don't need a bunch of bright lights, other than obviously any securities that you deem necessary. Let's see, one other, I'm just going through my notes. The liability insurance, you explained that, but the policy should probably, at least a synopsis of that should be made part of this record. Okay, so that we know that it's there, and that it's also, upon request of the city, or the proper city officials, you can say, okay, show us that the policy is still in effect. So 3 years from now, you didn't drop it because, corporate decided we don't want it anymore, okay? So that's a condition that you maintain that. Also, I thought we were going to get an explanation of how that might be helpful to the neighbors. Is it just to clean up the spill? Would that cover the neighbors' damages? How does that work?
Well, it would cover claims from neighbors with respect to, off-site spills to the extent that that would happen.
Okay.
Which is, something we would do anyways as prudent business owners, but it's an improvement over the current situation for sure.
Right, well, right now, the way it worked is claims were made and there was nothing to pay them. So in this case, all right, I'm good with that. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
All right. Councilor Jouer had questions about the fence.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In one of your conditions here, we were talking about let me find it. The applicant shall replace the perimeter fencing at the site and maintain the fencing in good repair. What kind of fencing are we talking here? I know part of it was chain link, part of it was...
We've added a note to the plan indicating 6-foot-high white vinyl fence around the perimeter on the abutters property.
Okay.
So that's a complete
It's already
backside
on.
and the right side, I guess?
Yes, it's already on the plan.
Oh, okay.
That's 6 foot, okay. Was there any talk or anything of putting like a 3-foot lattice over the top of it for added? I don't know if we needed that. But I know we did that down at Overlook, and it just made a huge difference to the neighbors. I don't know if it's something that we need to do there or not, because it's all pretty level.
It would look nice.
But it would look nicer, yeah. Maybe they'll make up for some of the green space. It's a 3-foot lattice piece that goes over the white vinyl.
Can you live with that?
That would be fine with me. I have no
Okay,
objection.
could you add that in,
You are a
please?
gentleman.
We appreciate that, thank you. Councilor Doucette, then President Clancy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just have a couple of issues just for clarification for my own sake on some of this. Condition 8 was about seating. And I just want clarification. I know there's a major rewrite to this, but the use may not include any tables with seating for customers. Is that both indoors or outdoors?
It's the entire site, so that's the whole use.
Okay, so there is no, because at one point we're talking cafe, so I thought at least there'd be some places to sit down, but there's no seating indoors or outdoors?
There never was. We initially on the plan had shown outdoor seating, and we've now eliminated that, and this condition would enforce that through zoning.
Okay, that's fine. I just was wondering if that also, I wasn't sure what the indoor plans were. The other reference is, and just for clarification, item number 16, I understand that the fuel pumps will not make noise, will not have audio, but I don't want, I think to say that shall not contain audio speakers, I'm concerned that that's basically removing speakers from equipment. I'm not sure if that actually is something you guys want to do. You may void warranties and stuff with the equipment.
You have to have speakers per the state and fire marshal order.
Okay, so maybe that
You
needs to
also need
get...
that to service the handicapped if somebody needs
Correct.
something.
So it just,
Those are
so
the-
therefore,
This
the
pertains
wording
only-
is, shall not contain audio speakers is, you reword that to be more appropriate then. So it's not, it appears to sound like equipment, not necessarily functionality, so.
That's a good point, Counselor. And on that same thing, I also wanted to stress that we don't want other audio speakers, because we don't want loud music playing. It's not coming from the pumps, now it's coming from the canopy, and it's keeping people awake. So if we can do that, other than the emergency speakers and the ability for a handicapped person to ask for help pumping. So if you
Rob
could just
can't
clean
hear-
that up.
Right, Rob can't hear his commercials, sorry, Rob.
President Clancy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Going back to the fence, there's a nice fence between your house and Mr. Aldrich's house. It's in terrible shape. It's all pushed over. It's a chain link fence. You're planning on removing that?
Yeah, that's,
Yes,
You have to remove that
it's
because
gonna be removed and replaced with a white vinyl fence.
yeah, so in other words, you're gonna, plus there's a lot of vegetation that's over there too, that you're gonna have to come into agreement with Mr. Aldrich to make sure that you don't cut down his trees, you know, so, but the fence on his side is all pushed over from plowing snow over it and things like that in the past, so as long as you are in agreement with Mr. Aldrich. I noticed on the newest set of plans, you have a detention basin. That's something new?
No, the bioretention area has been there from the start, yes. That's for,
The
final,
subsurface?
it's a surface bioretention area for final treatment of stormwater runoff from the pavement area.
Yeah. Now, where you having the storm tech infiltration chambers underneath the parking lot, have you done test pits in there?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, and it's all clean?
Yes, we got good results.
Yeah. Now, have you had releases from DEP? Anything in writing saying that the site is clean? Do you have anything in writing?
so, condition number 18, you'll see, that's the final step that will be forthcoming, which is the submission of a permanent solution statement from the site's LSP, licensed site professional.
Yeah, because there were two site assignments. I think the first one was the one where they had all the damage done to the neighbors. Then there was a second one when they pulled the tanks out.
Mr. President, those were combined.
They combined the two into one?
Correct.
We're not aware of that. You know, I just looked at Priscilla. Priscilla hadn't.
That's what the LSP advised us.
Did the LSP say that it was back to one?
I haven't heard that that's normal.
Okay, right. But, you know.
So
I just wanna
just for
make
the
sure-
audience, Priscilla said that's normal.
Yeah,
So-
because what you have is a depressed system now, where you're gonna take all the runoff that's on site and put it into the ground. I just wanna make sure that the ground underneath it is clean, and it's not just forcing, you know, the gasoline that might be present there back into the area surrounding it. So, but, you know, the first time I noticed that the surface basin was on this set of plans. I hadn't noticed them from the beginning. It was always like a landscaped area.
It is a bioretention area, so it's going to have plantings in it. It will not look like a riprap covered detention basin.
It's
going to
pretty,
integrate into the landscape.
pretty good size.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. So at this point, I thought I'd run quickly, I'll run through the conditions, and if anybody has any questions on them, we will stop. The first three are pretty much straightforward. Construction in accordance with applicable laws, site plan review, and modification of plans. And so you should have in your packets, by the way, the red-lined version so you can see the changes. Yep. Incorporation of submissions, stormwater and erosion control management. Number 6, the lighting, and that'll be slightly adjusted to say that the lights will be off when not in usage, except for, you know, security lights. Hours of operation have been changed from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. The outdoor seating was changed, or seating has been changed. Actually, it was changed from outdoor seating to seating. And as we noted, the use may not include any tables with seating for customers. Trash area, the change was the trash area shall be locked outside of the business hours. No trash pickup between 7 and, it shall occur between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. That should be fine, yeah. Okay, signs. The signs will be shut off when closed. You still have to, you know, come in for a sign permit.
Correct.
Which should be pretty easy. And the fencing, we touched on the fencing. It's going to be 6-foot white vinyl fence around the entire back and up on the right side. And that will have on top of it a 3-foot lattice. That'll make it look really sharp. I assume that will be vinyl as well, probably, right?
Correct.
Thank you for that. I think it's going to make both properties look good. Food sales, we have the changes in there that essentially say that large ovens, et cetera, won't occupy more than 10% of the building's floor area. So it's not going to become basically a restaurant food producing area. No outdoor sales, with the exception of fuel. No items for sale should be located or displayed outside the building. So none of those, pallets of blue window cleaner, window washer, antifreeze, ice machines. It's going to be clear and clean and look beautiful. No vehicle sales or service. So it's pretty straightforward. The diesel fuel sales will be basically for the smaller trucks and landscaping cars or trucks, et cetera. They're not going to be the huge diesel trucks coming in there. And 16, the audio is going to be slightly amended to say that there's just going to be no audio from the speakers or any other part of the facility except for emergency speakers and the ability to service handicapped individuals. The liability insurance, just adding that that policy, some type of retainer or whatever, will be made part of the evidence of this special permit, and that you must show evidence upon request that that valid policy is still in effect anytime the city needs that. We have the DEP explanation we touched on, number 18. Number 19, recording of decision. That's about all I have, folks. Anything else that we're missing? Councilor Irish, hello.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know it's probably, I don't know, sales data-wise for the diesel. I still would like to see the diesel fuel sales omitted completely. I don't know how much of a revenue stream that is, considering that it is going to be a convenience store. I still think they can still be making their profit. I don't know what the sales data would be for diesel fuel. I mean, considering that it is a small part of their sales, I think it could be omitted.
Yeah, the question is it a convenience for our residents? I don't know. Councilor Rossi?
Yeah, so I would just take exception to what Councilor Irish, I mean, to me, it gives another added benefit for the neighbors. I mean, it's not bringing in 18-wheeler trucks for diesel.
Correct. No, that is correct, and I do like that.
Which I think is, that's what you want a service station to do.
Does anybody else have an opinion on it? I don't really have a problem with it, but President Clancy.
Yes, I've noticed that sometimes you have large dump trucks pulling in there, down at the one on Maple Street. Is there a large call for those large vehicles to go into your stations?
No, there isn't. But I would just like to add that diesel is the greenest fuel currently. It exceeds any other type of hybrid or any other type of energy. So I think we should be supporting diesel, not trying to eliminate diesel.
Yeah. Now my feeling is that you have some small dump trucks that are diesel. I think Councilor Joyer had one that was a diesel, and they need a place to fuel up. So my feeling is that you can accommodate small dump trucks, but the larger tractor trailers, with the side saddle tanks on them and things like that, probably drain your tank down if one of those came in.
Yeah, it will be very difficult at this site.
Yep.
Okay, so is there a way that we're going to be able to control that, or is the language that we have okay?
Should be okay.
Councilor, I don't want to have a discussion about electric solar cars versus diesel. We're not talking about that tonight.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Jeez. So anyway, it turns out I had lunch with a friend who actually has a diesel Volkswagen. And there's actually there's normal cars that use diesel. And if someone's going northbound or southbound on 85, what other options are they going to have to get diesel? I mean, there's one on the Sunoco station south of Main Street, but having this north, I think, is just as appropriate. I mean, there is a market out there. Now, I can disagree as far as the greenness of diesel and
Councilor?
Carbon emissions. He brought it up. But I don't think that eliminating that as an option would actually be beneficial for, this market and also for the city. So if you want to have a conversation about that, Mr. Irish, I'm sure willing to have that. So, but we can agree to disagree on that one.
And can we live with this, Councilor Irish?
Yeah, that is fine, Mr. Mayor. I mean, I'm sure the signage is going to be wonderful there. It's just to, again, to prevent anything from happening, to cut down on larger trucks, which this does do, I'm sure, because we do have smaller trucks. I didn't realize that it was that much of a sale revenue for the diesel. But yes, as long as the signage is there, and this is on Bolton Street, so the dangers of coming on there. So yeah, that would be fine.
Thank you, Councilor. Anything else? Councilor Jouer?
Mr. Chairman, if nobody has anything else, I am willing, or able, or ready to make a motion.
Please do.
I make a motion that we approve as amended.
Motion is made and seconded to approve as amended. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It passes 5-0. Congratulations and good luck to you folks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So to remember, you're putting in a condition that's regarding those driveways.
Yes.
That you're gonna have to go to site plan review and get their final approval.
Yep.
So when we get the language before we vote on it, we'll want to see that that's all correct.
Absolutely.
Councilor Rossi?
Is there any expediency to suspending the rules to have the solicitor put in proper format, or can it just follow its normal process?
Yeah, so why don't we do that? We can ask for suspension of the rules at our next meeting to ask the solicitor to put it in proper legal form, and that way we'll be able to do that. Council okay with that?
It's got to be done for Monday night.
Ready?
It's Thursday, you have to,
No, we're gonna, when I report it out on Monday, Mr. President, at that point, I'll ask for a suspension so that the solicitor can put it in proper legal form.
as long as he's had enough time. Remember, it's Thursday, not Monday or Tuesday.
That's a good point.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Get that old station down.
You got it.
Thank
Thank you very much. So we will now take up order number 19-100,
Good luck, Mike.
7762, application for special permit from Post Road Realty LLC to construct a multifamily residential project known as the Green District, an executive residential overlay district, which will consist of 475 units and 2 buildings at 107 Cimarano Drive, map 116, parcels 5, 11, and 12. We have anybody here from? Yes. Okay. So folks, we have a few things to do tonight. One is we're going to walk through, if you remember, we did that evaluation tool, and so we're going to walk through that this evening. And then aside from that, we're going to go through the conditions of the special permit, but unless I'm missing something here, most of the heavy lifting was done during the site plan review. And the rest of this seems very straightforward, and so hopefully we'll be able to get through this evening. All right, Mr. Falk.
Just bringing things up. Thank you.
So, councilors, we did have a handout last meeting that was kind of, well, so small that very few of us could read it. And so I know, Mr. Falk, you said you were bringing larger copies.
You should all have them at your desks, Mr. Chairman.
Should? Oh, thank you. So everyone, it's this form here. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're ready, Mr. Chairman, Andy Montelli from Post Road is going to walk us through the MAPC scorecard.
All righty.
Thank you. So MAPC has put this 10-point project scoring template together, and they took a crack at it back in April. They went through the project and scored it. In fairness, at the point they did this, they really had no design to work off of. We hadn't really done our site design. The architecture wasn't developed. We hadn't sort of hit on the theme that we were going to really call this the Green District and you know, incorporate as many green aspects as we could into the project. So, would you like one? I have extras.
So Andy, just to save you some time.
Yeah.
I'm not too concerned about what MAPC did in this, because it really wasn't a
okay.
It wasn't a full effort. Let's just walk through what you folks have.
So there are 10 points. These things are sort of, for large part, binary, and you know, the first topic that MAPC has identified are design guidelines and criteria. Project corresponds to design review guidelines. We think we fully comply, so, and this is self-scoring, by the way, so we gave ourselves this score. We gave ourselves a 30 on that one. Second category.
But well, you know what, we're gonna go through this real quick. So councilors, you know, I'm pretty cool with giving a 30 on that. I think the designs are really interesting, and I think it's the kind of things we're looking for. Any disagreement on that?
No.
Okay, move along.
Plan has a diversity of types and units. We've got from small studios up to very large 2-bedroom and dens. Do we have 3 bedrooms, Steve? Yeah, one stack of 3 bedrooms. So within the apartment genre of unit types, we've covered all the bases. So we took a 5 on that.
Any disagreement? Move along.
Context sensitive. Is the development proposal appropriate in scale or provide a buffer to adjacent residential uses? We are very comfortable with the scale. We're in an industrial area. We don't have residential neighborhoods with the exception of Stonegate, which is in elevation much higher than us with very large buildings. So we felt we were appropriate with scale and had a sufficient buffer. Score.
Okay. Any disagreement? Nope, I'm good with that as well. Moving on.
Does in the case of rezoning, does the proposed development have more or less adverse effect on the existing surrounding land uses than the development that would have otherwise been allowed by right on the same property? So here we're comparing ourselves to a 400,000 square foot office complex that has greater traffic, you know, bigger footprint buildings, more parking. So we assume, you might say we have less impact, but we said we're probably about the same as that large Boston Properties office.
I would agree with that. Anybody else? So I'm not trying to tip the scales here, so whatever, please let me know if you disagree. But
no, sir, we don't. I do have. You have that too, right? Yeah. Okay. No, it didn't format well, I guess, for the big screen. I apologize. But I have a copy if anybody needs one. Okay, I have extra copies. Is the parking appropriately located to ensure improved walkability to residences, does not form a barrier between sidewalk and any first floor commercial space, and is it screened from abutting uses? Screened as much as possible, but we are along Cimarano Drive. There's parking that's visible there with as much landscape buffer as we have room to fit. So we kind of took a partial 5 points on that category.
okay.
Land use compatibility. Is there an inherent conflict with abutting uses? We say no. We're next to a very large residential project across the street from industrial sites. This is an office uses. This is a really good location for what we intend to build.
Agreed.
Thank you.
So why do like, that's a good thing, so why do you get negative?
Well, the other guys gave us a negative because they're just, they had a problem with putting a residential project in, you know, an office industrial area.
Yeah.
The truth is that as a developer, we like doing that because we want to be close to jobs. We don't want to be out in the outskirts, you know, in the woods. We want to be near industrial, commercial job bases, and this project does that.
Right, and maybe the the parameters are a little mixed up. If that's a good thing, then why are you getting a negative? That's my point.
That was the old score from the
That was
consultant.
MAPC giving their opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I disagreed with that. Okay, so we're good with the, well, are we good? We're good? We're good, Counselor?
Thank you, Mike.
I just want to say one thing. You know, there is a lot of truck traffic going by there now, Andy.
Yes, sir.
You know, because of the two large terminals that were built over in Northborough right across the line. And, you know, and to get to 495, they have to go right by your front door there.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably one of the biggest problems you're going to have. It might be truck traffic.
Can I address that for a second,
Yeah.
real quick? So I was just at a project we built that's next to the train tracks that served as the means of Steve Wynn building the casino. We build next to highways. The first thing we did on this site, Ed, was to hire acoustic engineers who went out for a week, set up microphones, and took readings of all the sound. And we've then been able to feed that into our design, specifically of windows and wall sections, so that we can beef up the glass, which is usually the weak point in the building wall assembly, and provide sufficient acoustic separation.
Yeah.
So,
Now, see, that would be a concern of mine if anybody's along not on the 495 side, but on the Cimarano Drive side. If you have acoustically, you know, designed it so that to eliminate any noise of vehicular traffic by the place. Most of the traffic is during the day,
yep,
not at night.
Yeah, what we found out we have to do along Cimarano Drive is make the windows laminated glass. It's kind of the same technique that they use in front of bank tellers. It's two panes of glass with a piece of plastic in between them. And it's the extra mass of the extra glass that adds the acoustic separation.
Is that low E glass? Do they call it low E?
You can buy it as low E glass if you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of, yeah.
Thank you. Next.
Where am I? Is there a beneficial impact on? Yeah, are there beneficial impacts on nearby uses? We say there are. We say there's thousands of jobs nearby. We're going to reduce the distance people have to travel. And, you know, we think that the financial mitigation might also kind of fit into that category. So we took a 10 on that.
Okay.
Is the proposed development consistent, inconsistent, or in conflict with a recent local planning effort? We kind of opted out of this because we didn't think that there had been a large-scale recent planning effort in the area, so we stayed neutral and took 0.
Now, other than to say that with the mixed-use residential overlay district, we kind of said, you know, some housing in that area is good, so,
okay.
So I'm fine with that.
Number 6, impact mitigation. Have we summary evaluation of impact mitigation based on chart? City has adequate public infrastructure capacity, and developer has proposed to undertake mitigation of inadequate infrastructure to enable development. We're fortunate in that the existing, you know, infrastructure is in pretty good shape. None of the mitigation we're providing really needs to address upgrades of capacity. So we took the 20 score on category 6.
Agreed, because you're giving a lot of money to help for fire protection. Okay, 7.
Number 7, housing tenure. Is there a mix of housing tenure within the development? You know, we have a mix of a variety of unit types, a variety of unit sizes, but the fact is that we're strictly a high-end rental community, so we kind of felt that maybe we don't have that diversity of housing, and so we said no, we took a 0.
Good.
Development benefits, this is a good one. Are there significant benefits to the city proposed as part of the development? We think between the mitigation and really more importantly the tax revenue that will be generated on a site that's currently vacant will generate a significant amount of benefit to the community. So we took.
Mike, did we talk about how much we're going to get in taxes once 1 and 2 are built out?
I'll get the exact number. I think it was like the order of 1.3 million. Hang on. I'll keep going.
It's about 1.3 a year, we estimate.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's pretty good.
That's a big one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you could bond off of that, obviously, and, use that as the background, as the basis for a very large bond. Existing / historic structure or iconic neighborhood features, we took 0 because there really is no existing structure on the lot. It's just a fallow piece of land.
Agreed.
Mr. Chairman?
Counselor?
Yeah, so again, if you recall last year when I put the information together, I did get it from the assessors, and they were projecting a little over $1.3 million annually in tax revenue from the facility.
All righty. The future councils are going to be great at spending that. Counselor?
Is that with all site 1 and 2, or in addition to the other site that was mentioned?
It's just 1 and 2.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is this a LEED certified building, or what?
We don't do LEED certification. The building could certify as a LEED silver, but we don't go through the paperwork to do it. But it would qualify as LEED silver. But because we're not scoring it, we took a 0. I think we probably could take a. Oh, I take that back. I'm sorry. We took the 5. We took the 5.
Okay. Councilor Doucette.
Yeah, well, considering that the complex is now the green district, I was just having LEED certification, I would expect to be part of the marketing of this. So at least get more awareness of how green you are, so.
Yeah, and listen, I won't be renting units for a year and a half, so maybe we'll start thinking about that as we start thinking of our marketing program. It would be an easy matter for this thing to qualify as LEED silver, but right now we're just not at that level of thought of planning the project.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next.
Affordable housing. Are the affordable housing units within the proposed development offsite cash payment? So we are taking the credit, the score for offsite and in the cash payment of $50,000 a unit.
That seems appropriate.
Yeah. Okay. And then, I'm sorry.
Councilor Assing.
So, Mr. Martello, you're also taking care that 10% of the facility is affordable, right?
Yes,
right.
sir.
So I mean,
yeah.
so
10%.
Right. So it's invisible as far as
actually, yeah. So
affordable housing.
We probably could have taken the 30 points for within the proposed development for to Mike's point, along with the cash payment for the 5% that we're buying out.
No, you're doing good. You don't need the extra points. So
okay. And then lastly. Is an alternative to number 9, are we proposing a friendly 40B? And we're not. This is not a friendly 40B.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate you doing this exercise. Quite frankly, this was a fairly easy one. In future councils, you're going to have some infill types of projects which are surrounded by a lot of pre-existing whatever. Could be buildings, could be residential. And it's going to be harder to work through this. And so this tool and the guide that goes along with it, and councilors, if you haven't read this, make sure you have this, and make sure the next councilors get this, because there are going to be some projects we're really not sure about, and having this kind of tool available, I think, at least I hope, will help you. All right, thank you for going through that exercise for us. So now, why don't we, if I can get my paperwork here. As I said, I think that we've pretty much gone through a lot of the difficult questions through the site plan review process, but at this point we can walk through the conditions, and there's not a whole heck of a lot of them. So let me get this in front of me, please.
Mr. Chairman,
President Clancy.
I just want to invite anybody who wishes to attend. Conservation is going to do a walk tomorrow at 2 o'clock on the site. If anybody's interested in going down and seeing what the parcel looks like, it's primarily dealing with the wetlands crossings that we deal with. But, you know, are you going to open up the gate down there, Andy? Can you open up that gate so people can pull in off the highway?
Yes, sir.
No, I don't know if you have a key for the Knox box. There's a Knox box on it right now.
I'll try to get it from Boston Properties tomorrow.
Yeah, you know, it'd be a lot easier to
Helpful.
get everybody off the road. The road is actually, the roadway in there is actually constructed. You know, and I think it's, you know, it's amazing. You know, it's ready to go.
Fantastic. So folks, as part of your packet, we have the special permit, and the conditions begin on page 3. So I'll walk through those quickly. The first several are pretty much pro forma, but please raise your hand or speak up if you have any questions on any of these. We're happy to stop and discuss. The first is construction in accordance with applicable laws. Second, compliance with applicable laws. Third, site plan review. Fourth, incorporation of submissions. Fifth, stormwater and erosion control management. Sixth is the affordable units, which was discussed. So for the 2 sections, they're going to give us for 24 units, $1.2 million, plus, as you see in number 7, $3,500 for each unit. So in addition to the 1.2, they're going to give us for site 1, $822,500, and for site 2, it will be $840,000. Again, that's in addition to the $1.2 million. So that's a lot of money that future councils will be able to use. It was my hope that it would go to the new fire station, but that will be the choice of the future council. Questions on any of that? Council Roby on number 8 had asked that they join the Metro West 495 Transportation Management Association, and which they will do. Number 9 is pretty standard recording of decision, and that's really all there is. I kind of feel like there should be more, but we addressed most of the major issues in the site plan, so it was kind of, it could have been on this side or the other side. Have we forgotten anything? Anybody? Councilor Dumas.
I was unfortunately unable to make the last Urban Affairs meeting, and there was some discussion regarding the time of when to complete Site 1 as opposed to Site 2.
So that was in the site plan review document, which we approved, but
correct. If you don't mind
going back. We can go ahead and review that. It was 3 and 5, yeah.
My only concern is that, I say we, but Urban Affairs Committee has been working very hard and diligently about getting mitigation money and other things and tax incentives for the city of Marlborough for Site 1 and for Site 2 specific. So we're doing all this hard work for that. So say the economy does crash, hopefully not, and you're only able to complete Site 1 in the time allowed, and Site 2 never happens. That means that the compensation is never going to come to the city of Marlborough for Site 2. I never want to penalize a developer to come into the city of Marlborough, but there's the issue that we'll never get compensated for that for Site 2 if you decide to not move forward with that project.
So we wouldn't get compensated because they wouldn't have to pay in lieu of affordable units, clearly.
Correct.
And the other is
And the
just
other
something we're asking for mitigation to, I asked for the fire station, which they're not adding more need to the fire station.
The second 600,000 will never come to the city. So it's just a concern of mine. Like, I get it. Like I said, I never want to penalize a developer for coming in, but we put our cards up front as well, just as much as you are, because the city of Marlborough on some level is banking on this money for the fire safety and things of that nature. And if you decide to walk away, then what happens?
Well,
we don't get anything.
And it's just a discussion for the table. I don't have an answer for that,
No,
but it's
that's
just.
cool.
And I can address that very quickly if you like. Our term for this is that we're going to be pregnant with that land. We're going to own a lot of land, and it's going to be sitting on our small company's balance sheet, And so we're committed to building it because we're going to own the land. The thing I would tell you is that the market's really strong. If I don't develop the site, somebody else will. And evidence of that is that there's probably never been a development site that's approved in Marlborough that has just been hanging around. I mean, developers will build on a site if it's approved. And whether it's Post Road or somebody else coming in after us, these conditions are on the land records, and that anybody else in the future will be obligated. But I'm going to build it.
That's my concern. I just want to make sure it does follow through, because, again, if we're doing all this hard work and you walk away and you sell it, again, like, other developers have come in, got all the paperwork, and then put it on the market to sell. And it's an incentive package to put this on the market because you do all the legwork. And I just don't want to see the city of Marlborough miss out on this money, that's all.
You and me too, brother, yes. Councilor Rossi.
No, Councilor Dumas, that's a perfect point. I mean, so I think what's different between what we're struggling with some of the smaller developers that are trying to build things, i.e. Main Street, this outfit has deeper pockets and I think are financially better positioned to withstand that. And you know, you watch what Boston says, you know, the need for housing is there. And you know, like you, I'm nervous about a downturn in the economy. I think that's there, but I mean, this outfit has, you know, it's different than the ones we're approving on Main Street that are, or even the one on Lincoln Street that are not as well off financially, that are struggling to get some of their funds in order. This
is a whole different scale.
Right. This place. So valid. I mean, I agree with you. I want to make sure that money comes in, and it's a valid concern. But I'm not as concerned with this as I am with the ones that we have, smaller ones around the city.
I think I'm just concerned because the price point for your units are relatively high. That's my only concern. That's my concern. I think it's fantastic that you're going to get those prices, but again, Marlborough, the way that I grew up with, is very different than what you're pitching to me. And I think my mindset in adjusting to that is a little slow on the curve. So,
Councilor Jouer.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We addressed the completion in the site plan approval at the last meeting. Site 1 shall be complete within 3 years of the issuance of this decision, and Site 2 within 5 years, and that was agreed upon the builders.
Correct.
And so, you know, it was something that we looked at.
right. My concern is if they don't do it within the time allowed. That's all. Thank you.
Councilor Doucette.
Yes, motion to approve.
Well, we didn't make any amendments. So motion is made and seconded.
Motion to approve.
Motion is made and seconded to approve. Discussion.
Well, before we move on to the approval process, I just, you know, Andy said that we haven't had developments fall through. We've had developments fall through. I can understand exactly where Councilor Dumas is coming from. I'll give you an example, Crowley Drive. Crowley Drive was started off by Toll Brothers. They built, two or three units there, and then next thing you know, the whole thing crashed. Because they were promising 275. Fell apart, went away. Okay. Then we had LBF building that was constructed out there. We were going to have a windmill company that was going to fill in another pad. It's been years since, you know, that pad was actually constructed, and now we're going to have a housing for the senior housing out there. Okay. So things do fall through. So, and you know, we are always concerned about the possibility of something falling through. Thank you.
You all set, Mr. President? Priscilla Ryder, our conservation officer, reminded me that you have yet to finish your work, and so we should probably add a condition, which we often do in the site plan, but we didn't, that says that you must conform to all conservation
restrictions. No, they still have to obtain an order of conditions from us. As I said, we're meeting tomorrow.
If we could add that as condition number probably 8, and then the recording will be number 9.
Okay.
Okay? So the motion is made and second,
Be condition number 9, the recording would be number 10.
yes,
We have
yeah.
number 8 as,
That's right,
okay.
yeah. So the motion is made and seconded to approve as amended,
Correct.
and I second that. Is there any further discussion? Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 it is. We wish you the best of luck. Get out there and build it in 3, will you?
3 and 4.
We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And thank you.
If I'm, oh,
So, Mr. Chair, again, and my nervousness is the amount of stuff that we have on the plate, to
Yeah.
suspend rules, to get stuff to finish while we're in this council session. So
Is the
just
committee,
keep that in mind.
okay with us asking for suspension of the rules to be placed in proper legal form? Okay, we will do that at our next meeting.
Be able to get that
As
done
long-
on Monday?
Mr. Chairman, as long as the city solicitor can obtain all the changes and make sure that it's in proper legal form for Monday night. Remember, it's Thursday night, and we're looking at Monday night.
Oh, well, so I was thinking that we would report it out on Monday.
Right.
At Monday's meeting, we'll ask for it to be put in the proper legal form and then vote on it at our next meeting.
December 2nd, yep.
It's
You
not
want
going to
it-
be in proper legal
We'll
form
do it
for
on,
Monday.
okay, because, that would have been 2, the gas station.
Right,
So we're looking at December 2nd for the final approval.
okay. So, yes, so we will not be pushing legal too hard.
Okay.
All right, so we had a 5-0 vote. We're going to ask for the suspension. I believe that's all we have this evening.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion is made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? We are adjourned at 6:47. Thank you all. Great work, everybody.
The project went pretty